Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay
This
Moore.
is Greg Proops.
This is Jeff Campitelli.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
This is Nathan
This
East.
is J.R. Robinson.
This is Gilson Lomas.
This is Stuart Copeland.
This is Mick Gillette.
This is Andy Summers.
This is Slim Jim Phantom.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rick Marotta.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
This is Jules Tabberer-Stewart.
I'm Jordan West.
This is Michael Schack.
And you are listening to the Break It Down Show.
And now, the Break It Down Show with John Leon Guerrero and Pete A. Turner.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero. Pete and I recently attended the launch thrown by Roland for their newly updated line of V-drums. Our show got on Roland's radar after we met some people at NAMM, that's the National Association of Music Merchants, trade show in Los Angeles that took place last January, where we had a lot of fun with the folks from Roland and a lot of other manufacturers. But before we get started, I'm going to say some nice things about Roland, their artists, the products they make, and I don't get paid to say those things. So if you're a drummer, or there's a drummer in your life who you love, or you're just curious about a sliver of the evolution of musical expression that happened in our lifetime, then you might want to listen in. Now, some people think that Roland is at least partly responsible for a decline in drumming's popularity because they developed the drum machine that changed everything, the TR-808 Rhythm Composer. Now, the first time I heard one was on Marvin Gaye's Sexual Healing. Not long after that, I heard Planet Rock by Africa Bambaataa and the Soul Sonic Force. That actually employed a break from Trans-Europe Express by Kraftwerk, but I heard Planet Rock first, and it started my and a lot of other people in the world's love affair with hip-hop. So if you subscribe to the theory that the drum machine torpedoed the art of drumming, then Roland is a U-boat. But I don't think that way. In fact, whatever their motivations were in the 70s when they were developing drum machines and synthesizers, I really think they are now the tip of the spear when it comes to empowering the drumming community to gather, to express, to do more, to practice more, and to realize more in the way of instrument voices and tools to grow your chops, solidify your meter, increase your fluency, and enjoy yourself and spread the love in a wider variety of environments. Now at this event, which was called Totally Drums, we got to hang around with the engineers and developers of these instruments and go deep into what they were trying to give us as they created these instruments. And what we found was that Roland is full of musicians who made this body of gear to address the needs of gigging players, in this case drummers. I fell in love, sweaty, passionate, lustful, nasty love with their flagship setup, the TD-50KV. I'm not going to go all technical on you. In fact, I'm going to leave that up to Justin at 65 Drums. 65 Drums is a YouTube channel that talks all about drum and percussion products. Justin gives dope reviews, and I subscribe to the channel myself. So if you dig this stuff, you should too. And that's where you should go for the technical breakdown of the whole V-drum line. Justin was at this event as well, and he tested and reviews all of the kits that were there. So check him out, 65 Drums. What I'm going to talk about is the roster of folks we're featuring on today's show and the people we met at the party after the press event. So we talked with Michael Schack, who's a groove monster. He is the Trans-Europe Express and a steaming locomotive with sticks in his hand, and he develops drum products for Roland as well. We met Jordan West, who kicked the door down when she moved to LA recently. She sounds terrific. We met Jules Tabberer-Stewart, who is also a drummer and the European spokesperson for V-Drums. But at the party, we met up with Greg Bissonette, Vinny Colaiuta, and Rick Marotta, three of the absolute greats in the business. Greg Bissonette, of course, has played with everybody. He played on the first solo album that David Lee Roth made after Van Halen, and his career has just been all over the place since. He's a great session player, a great reader, a great groove master, and a rockin' drummer and a rockin' dude who is cool. So we're going to get him on the show. He sort of mildly said yes, which I'm going to take as yes, except right now he's on the road with Ringo Starr, so he's a little bit busy and he's hard to nail down. We'll get him, though. We talked with Vinny Colaiuta, who's currently, I believe, playing with Jeff Beck. Also awesome, amazing drummer who you should look up if you don't know. Probably, I mean, really among the small handful of best drummers in the world currently. And Rick Murata, who, along with being an absolute master and a great session player through the generations, he's played with, oh man, what a long line of folks he's played with. Carly Simon, James Taylor, Warren Zevon, Hall & Oates, Steely Dan, and the list is a mile long. And he's absolutely one of my favorite human beings in the world. Look forward to the second episode with Rick Murata on the Break It Down show, which we recorded at his home studio last week. That's coming up. Also at the party, we were excited to talk with the great Jimmy Jam, which I will always cherish, especially when I'm in the company of my cousin Daryl, because we grew up just loving Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. And we talked with the great Ray Parker Jr. Now, if all you know about Ray Parker Jr. is Ghostbusters, then you truly don't know shit. Ray Parker Jr. is a guitar Goliath. He went on his first world tour with Stevie Wonder when he was 16 years old and is just an absolute treasure on the guitar. So look up his work as well. We're going to get him on the show too. I don't mean to speak out of turn if we never get these people, but we've had these conversations, and they nod and smile and go, yeah, man, I'll do the show. So we're going to try and hold them to it and try and nail them down when they're in town and off the road. Anyway, thanks to Roland for inviting us to a great party, and let's kick this show off.
I'm a household bread and butter drummer, I am. This is Jules Tabberer-Stewart, and you are listening to the Break It Down show.
Jules, thank you for joining us. Jules is for our listeners, Jules is a Roland product specialist. We're here at the Totally Drums Roland MU Drum Marketing Strategy Manager.
Yeah, it all sounds a bit.
That's a lot of words.
Just call me the drum guy from Roland.
The drum guy from Roland.
I heard he was the drum guy from Roland.
That's not a bad gig. What I would like for our listeners to understand is that Roland is a place that is known, of course, for electronic instrumentation. But how some old traditional drummers, and I mean old when I say old, but some old traditional drummers would blame Roland for trying to replace the drummer with the drum machine. And that's absolutely nothing could be further from the truth. Because what Roland is doing is really embracing a technology that allows drummers to be more expressive.
Sure. And
so that's the job that you have, is to bring an instrument that gives us more room to express, more room to grow, and bring it to the masses so that we can keep this art form going and prospering.
I'll go right on record, actually, from saying from the outset that I get the notion that digital drums, by their virtue, seemingly might look to replace acoustic drums. I'm the first to stand up and say that I am a drummer. I go out at the weekends and I play acoustic drums. I've got vintage drums, at home, which I absolutely adore and will play every day. And so, for the record, that all the guys in Japan, we really are passionate drummers at Roland, and we're drummers at heart. Even though we make digital percussion, doesn't mean to say that we're not regular drummers, just like all our customers out there. I think the difference is that when we create digital percussion, we are the holy grail is trying to get to a digital playing experience that recreates the acoustic experience, in my view. The reason for that is all down to practicality. Not everybody can play an acoustic kit in their home all the time, They want to play an electronic kit, but if you're going to play it, for sure I want it to look, feel, sound, respond like an acoustic drum kit would. Why wouldn't I? But that doesn't mean to say we're trying to, to take out acoustic drums. It's the opposite. There's a place, a happy coexisting place for both, One doesn't replace the other. It's the instrument that you need for the situation that you're in. Bob Dylan used to play an acoustic guitar, and one day he brought out the electric guitar, and everyone went, "Hey, what are you doing, man?" Right. Come on. Bobby Dylan's got a music that's great on both sides, and he was using the right instrument for the music, and that's what digital and acoustic drums are all about.
It just allows for a wider palette.
Absolutely.
It gives us more colors. We still play with wooden sticks.
Oh, yeah.
And it's still an organic experience, and one that we have to be. If your meter sucks, you still suck. So it's not going to fix it for you, but it will help you.
Yeah.
Because of the tools that you guys have integrated into kits that allow you to work on your meter, to work on your timing, you guys have lessons available that are built in, that are integrated into the set to make everybody better at it. Yeah. Again, you're supporting the community of us.
Absolutely. And, I think I've met drummers now who've told me, hey, Roland's was my first ever drum kit. When I was a kid, the first thing you did was got some beat up old thing, that you got from a secondhand guy, and maybe your drum teacher recommended it, and that's what you got. And
this is the very first generation that's able to say that my first kit was a Roland.
That's right. And some people look at that and say, well, hey, maybe you didn't learn to play drums correctly because you didn't learn the right experiences and all that kind of stuff. I accept that electronic drums can look and feel a little bit different. And actually, one of the things with the TD17 for us is all about making that transition between acoustic and electronic drums much smoother. And by developing the pads and the physical things that you hit, we're really trying to bridge that gap, if that makes sense, and make it more seamless. Yeah. Make the two feel much more akin to one another. So we're making headway in that way. But I don't think the technique that you still need to play as a drummer, the fundamentals, the rudiments, they still need to be played. What we focus on, exactly like you said, was developing pads and sound and sensing technology that work together, all three of those things, so that those real expressions, those real nuances, etc., all those things that we seek to improve as drummers can be played and then can be heard and expressed.
Wow. So now, as you have envisioned this kit coming into the marketplace and allowing for all the flexibilities that it does, help us look down the road even further.
Sure.
What do you do for the community now that allows for greater expression still? Because that's the vision that really separates Roland from whoever else. I hate to say it, but Simmons, they're not around anymore because they failed to have that vision.
Yeah.
What is it now that Roland, because you're here and so steeped in what you guys are doing as a long-term vision, what are we looking forward to?
It's hard to know exactly, because at the moment we're going through a kind of technological era where I think we've seen advancements in what I would call consumer technology or everyday technology, which has advanced so much in maybe even the last 10 years. Can you remember what a cell phone was like 25 years ago? I can.
Yeah.
Can you remember what a cell phone was like in 2003, right. 2005 versus the cell phone I'm using today?
It's moving fast.
It's night and day, right? Between the two. And sometimes, you've got technology can advance at such a pace, but does that technology always stick? Is it always useful? I think we can only ever do the right things that are useful. And to do that, we really need to understand our drummers, and we need to understand the people that want to play V drums. We need to understand at a very deep level who they are, what they play, where they play, why they want to play, and what motivates them. What are the barriers that stop them going out there to be able to achieve what they want to achieve in their drumming? If we can understand that, we can develop the right instruments which are going to help them to achieve their goals. And that's exactly what we've done with the current range where we are right now with the TD17 series. We've spoken to real people and we've moved things forward based on their needs, not just the kind of, oh, I'd like to do this, or I think you should do that. We've based it around real people and their needs. So I think in the future, hard to know exactly where it's going to go. I definitely see that there needs to be some kind of interaction, if you like, between what we call the offline, the hardware, and probably the online. I think that's the future. And we see that every day in every part of our lives. I've got one of these things in my home now, like everybody else, Alexa, that I can just shout, hey, Alexa, what's the weather today? If it's in the UK, it's always raining, by the way, so it's raining. But, hey, Alexa, what's the weather? I didn't have that even 5 years ago, so I'm starting to bring that technology into my life now. So I think that the offline hardware, my speaker never used to do that, connect to the internet, but it does now. So I see that connection somehow with drums. I don't know quite how we're going to do that yet and what that's going to bring, what benefit that's going to bring to the player. But I think, that could be somewhere that I'd like to see things go. And of course, what we want to do as Roland is we are passionate drummers first and foremost. We just want to push the envelope to try and push the pad feel, the technology, the materials, the technology, the sound technology, just to try and make it more and more expressive and enjoyable. That's what we want to do. That's where we want to go, is keep pushing the envelope. So I don't quite know what's down the road for us, but I can say that we'll be pushing the innovation and as much as we can to make sure they're the best digital drums available.
Well, you keep doing it. And when V-Drums launched originally, I remember how mind-blowing they were, the very first generation of V-Drums with Omar Hakim.
Yeah.
And how everybody just went, what the hell just happened? But you continue to do it. And so what I'm looking forward to is V-Drums and VR, where you can put the goggles on and go, Madison Square Garden, let's go. And
maybe there'd be some kind of plug-in to make me play like Vinny Colaiuta or something as well. That would be nice.
Yeah, that would help. Anyway, Jules, thank you, man. I appreciate your work, keeping us as a community moving forward.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you sitting down with us today.
Thank you. My absolute pleasure. I've really enjoyed it. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Hey guys, I'm Jordan West, a Roland product specialist and artist, and you're listening to the Break It Down Show.
Jordan West is an amazing drummer from Fort Wayne, Indiana,
Yep.
and now living and doing business in Los Angeles and doing terrific business. How long have you been here?
I've been here 3 years.
3 years.
Yep.
And in the 3 years, you've managed to squeeze out a collaboration with Bob Clearmountain and Andy Summers?
Yes, that's actually one of the main reasons I came here, was because Bob saw us in a dive bar in Fort Wayne. He said, you should move to L.A. And
Perfect.
2 years later, I did.
Yeah. What was Bob Clearmountain doing in a dive bar in Fort Wayne?
Good question. He was actually presenting at Sweetwater for Gear Fest.
Okay.
And he was there that evening.
So you have a relationship with Sweetwater, too?
Yeah, I mean, it's from my hometown.
Your hometown.
It's kind of hard to miss when you live there. I worked there right after college for about 8 months. And
I want to shout out to Mike at Sweetwater because it's my homeboy over there. When you have an instrument like, we're here at Roland, by the way, for the V-Drum launch, and you're playing as a part of the whole introduction of the new line of V-Drums, which are amazing.
They are.
One of the things that the question that comes to mind for any drummer who's watching somebody play like you is, what does it pull out of you?
I mean, to me, the thing about electronic kits that's so great is that I play differently than I would on an acoustic kit when the sounds are different. So I have the ability to play all the stuff. If I put it on an acoustic sounding kit, I can play, just like I would on my Ludwig kit.
Right.
But the second I change it over to an 808 or a percussion kit or something different or unique, it kind of inspires me to play different ideas, different things. So I really love the ability to kind of open up your mind and open up your playing to do stuff you wouldn't normally do.
I'm itching to hear you play something on the 808 kit. Will you do that?
For sure. It's like definitely the most fun one to play on ever, always. So yeah.
The neat thing about that is if you grew up with the 808 and listening to hip-hop, you are now able to hear those sounds that are so familiar and that just hit in the trunk, played with a human feel.
It's cool.
And that changes everything. So how much do you use the electronic, how much do you use the 808 kit in a playing environment?
I mean, I use it all the time. Since kind of starting my work with Roland and really diving into all these products, it's really changed the artists I play with or that I'm able to play with. So I play with one artist, all we use is samples. So there's 808s, 909s on everything. And that's not even because I work for Roland, that's just because that's what they wanted.
Yes.
So
that's the
like
palette
constant.
You're after.
It's constant. Everything is hybrid.
Who's the artist?
Her name's Kaylee Morgan. She's like she just signed to Republic Records recently. She's doing a few festivals and maybe some touring next year.
And so her repertoire is based on the palette that we all grew up with and not the acoustic drums that were like a generation back, right? So a whole different texture, a whole different batch of sounds. And it makes your playing different?
Yeah, well, and I have to play differently too, because when you're playing certain sounds, you want to stay true to the record. And I'm a jazz player, so electronics was kind of a whole new world for me. And playing in this way, playing to the record and playing exactly what the artist wants, that was something important I had to learn in order to be a professional player, because that's kind of what it is right now. Integrating electronics and acoustics and triggers and kind of just making the live performance sound as close to the record as possible is something a lot of artists are wanting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're providing the interpretation of the artist's work in the live environment. So you have to reproduce so that we all can recognize it. If we're in the crowd, we all want to dance to what we recognize, right? And then, but you're adding the live element. So you're able to take all these sounds. As a jazz player, what limitations do you think you've found playing an electronic kit as a jazz player?
I mean, it used to be that I would do a drum roll or something, and it would kind of just sound like a machine gun going off at high speed. Really,
and that's if it caught all the roll, right?
Well,
so
right, and that's if it even
off.
was even.
Yeah.
But in the last couple years, seriously, when the TD-50 was released, and I played that new digital snare, it was so smooth and so organic sounding. And this kit's really fun to play, and they've really done their best to eliminate all of those hiccups. And like even the hi-hat, the new hi-hat that they have, the VH10, it's lighter. They're always striving to make that acoustic to electric experience seamless, and they're getting, scarily close.
Yeah. I mean, really now, anymore, it's like just playing a different snare drum. It's not like a acoustic versus electronic snare drum. It's just like, you play your piccolo snare different than you play your, deep wood snare. Also, your left hand is absolutely stupid. I mean, did you guys notice that? Her left hand is fucking sick. I'm sorry. And it catches it all the grace notes. And your grace notes are like an inch off the head. And I want to say hears it all. It hears it all.
It picks, it's acknowledging everything, and it's in a way that is musical. It's not like, in every ghost note, because then a player like me would sound terrible if these weren't.
Yeah, the subtleties
if these
are
weren't
lost,
subtle,
right?
then
Yeah.
I would sound like a train wreck.
Yeah.
Being able to have the dynamics and the finesse and all that stuff, which is really important to me and like how I play.
Yeah.
That like, if it can do that, then that's kind of my like test.
Will you demonstrate?
Sure, I'll do
Fire
some
away. Something showing off that left hand that we like.
I'll do a Steve Gadd thing.
Oh, please. Yeah, doubles like butter.
It's so cool.
Yeah. So, since you're a jazz player, we have to talk about the ride cymbal.
We do.
So I'm sure your musical voice sort of matured around that ride cymbal as a jazz player. What do you want to tell us about this thing, this hunk of plastic? I
mean, it's kind of crazy because you hit it. It doesn't look like it's not a ride cymbal.
Yeah.
It's not a piece of metal.
Mm-hmm.
But the samples in here, the sounds that they have for the rides are really what make it for me. These are actually the same sounds you're hearing in the TD-50, which is our flagship model. Top of the line, crazy expensive, high tech. That's the same sounds you're getting here. So when I play this, you're hearing it continue on.
Right.
It's still not gone.
Yeah, the sustain is there. It's still, and it breathes, and it's dynamic, and you hear it, but do you feel it?
Well, yeah, and it's what I think one of the big differences was there was a time when I was younger that I remembered everything kind of sounded like, okay, well, that's a cymbal sound being quiet, and that's a cymbal sound being loud.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually like, if I play it quietly, it's like I'm playing it quietly. If I play it loud, it's like I'm playing it loud. It's not just like the same thing amplified. It's actually, there's depth to it. You can even add a sizzle. I mean, adding those kind of things, really, that's like, to me, what makes it really playable.
For our listeners who are hearing this and not seeing the video, because we're capturing video too, but for our listeners, you did just hear Jordan choke the cymbal.
Oh, yeah.
Which is also cool. What are these sounds called? I mean, is there like a shitty ride that I found out back sound? Is it called that?
I think it's just called like organic ride or something.
Organic ride, okay. That's
like,
the one where it's like, there's mold here. Like, this ride's a little bit green.
Dry ride.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love it if they called it ugly ride. Because
ugly ride.
all my cymbals look like they just came out of the dirt. So that's what I like.
That's because they've been loved for so long.
I love that. Like, I love all of that. I'm a big Zildjian person, and Constantinople. Some of these sound, crazy. Like that.
Yeah. In your Los Angeles living arrangements, are you living in an apartment?
Yes.
Okay.
A very small apartment.
Because everybody lives in a very small apartment in
Los
Angeles.
I'm lucky, though. I live by the 405.
Okay.
And I live in a row of maybe 500 apartments.
Uh-huh.
And then there's like a little road, and then there's 500 garages.
Yep.
So we're all stacked together right by the 405, so I can practice in my garage
Anytime you want.
anytime I want. But in my apartment, the actual complex, I
Uh-huh.
have TD-25, and I play that at all hours of every day.
That's enough to make anybody a rolling artist living in an apartment. Like, you got to play. And when you got to play and you live in an apartment, this is the perfect solution. Now, if you take this set on the road, how long does it take you to set up?
I mean,
This is like practical drummer shit. This is you get to the
this
gig.
is the nitty-gritty.
There it is. How long?
I mean, it depends on your setup. So, like, for me, I would probably use this brain and use these pads integrated with my acoustic setup. So for me, that would take, maybe 10 more minutes than setting up my acoustic set alone.
Right.
Just using this by itself, if you already have it all out of the box, assuming that you already took it all out,
Uh-huh.
it might take 15, 20 minutes. You're not looking at anything much longer than it would take you to just set up your kit.
Yeah.
And you have, unlimited kits.
And the sound man loves you, right? Because you just hand them the out.
Yeah.
They don't have to mic anything.
When it sounds good every time, so that's also good.
Perfect. Well, it's easy to say that it sounds good every time, but it sounds good because of the player. And in this case, Jordan, thanks a lot
Thank you
for coming on.
Yeah.
Everybody who's living in an apartment in Los Angeles, go get the new Roland V drums or get a Roland kit that's going to allow you to play out and have your fun and rehearse in your apartment. Thanks.
Thank you.
This is Michael Schack, and you're listening to the Breaker Down Show.
Yes, you are. Michael is a Roland product specialist. He's here today. We're at the Roland launch of this year's V-drums, new and improved. And, man, you blew us all away this morning with your playing, and now you're...
I hope you intend that to be positive comment.
Yeah. Sure. Tell us how you arrived in this position with Roland and how you got started playing electronic drum.
Well, that's a long story. It started at the end of 1992 when Roland came out with the TD7 series, which was the very first real electronic drum set where you also had the pads being cymbals sounds.
Yeah.
And I started as a demonstrator for Roland in the Benelux countries, so Belgium and Holland.
Yeah.
You know, I was experimenting, and then in 2001, Roland Japan requested me to do some demos at the Frankfurt Music Fair, which at that time was the biggest music fair in Europe. And I asked him, yeah, but can I incorporate a little bit of, sampling and so on, like that small new DJ sampler? And the Japanese were like, why? We asked you to demonstrate drums, but I was like, yeah, but I want to play along with samples and trigger stuff. So, and they said, oh, okay, let's try this. And this way, my style of demonstrating, incorporating music bits and also at the same time doing the drum sounds and everything, they said, okay, let's go international with this. And that's how I became also involved in a little bit of product development and product design. And now I'm still an independent drummer. I'm not a Roland employee. I'm also not on any contract, but it's been 26 years
that they've strung you along. No, I'm just kidding.
And I've been involved in as a consultant and sound designer in a couple of really nice instruments.
Well, I want our listeners to understand how important that is to drumming. And here's the easiest way: is that anybody who likes watching drums on YouTube is going to happen across the Guitar Center drum off.
Yes.
And the Guitar Center drum off nowadays, you absolutely cannot win that unless you're incorporating music bits, unless you have, sampled sounds mixed in, integrated into your playing so that you can be more musical and have a reach into more creative spaces than just having an acoustic drum set.
Yes.
And really, you've been in it since the forefront. You are, I'm looking around at the room, Michael is the pioneer.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I think there's other people that were really pioneers, like Bill Bruford, when the Simmons drums came out. He was actually the very first one who took the risk to take an electronic drum set, only electronic drum set, on a live stage.
That was risky.
And there was also this group name called Cameo. You remember them?
Oh, yeah, Larry Blackman.
There you go. And what was he playing?
I have a red cup that I wear just around the house.
He was playing a Simmons kit with acoustic cymbals.
Yeah.
those are the
That was
pioneers.
ballsy. That was
Those-
ballsy.
Yeah, those are the pioneers. And of course, by becoming a demonstrator and also performing at drum festivals and being at that time very young guy and trying to play, you know, P-funk mixed with hip-hop, mixed with a little bit of metal chops and whatever, and then triggering that music live instead of having a laptop
Playing
or
to a track.
Yeah. It was kind of original, but on the other hand, it also evolved for me as something that's just what I do. I don't look at myself only as a drummer. I look at myself as a drummer who wants to make the people dance.
That's terrific.
4 kicks on the floor. I love playing those beats.
Yeah.
It's very simple, but it doesn't, for me as a drummer, of course, 7/8, 5/4, it's all very interesting, but I really get a kick out of making the people dance.
Well, the style that we witness you demonstrating is nothing short of just a monstrous wave of get your ass moving that sweeps through the room.
Especially at 10 a.m. in the morning.
At 10 a.m. That's right.
But
Anytime.
for me, it was already 5 p.m.
Okay, that's right. 5 p.m. somewhere, including behind Michael's kids. So when you're getting ready to get out of here, you're about to hop on a plane in a moment here. Where are you going next?
I'm leaving tomorrow.
Oh, you're
I'm
leaving
going
tomorrow.
next to Switzerland.
Are you going to the party tonight?
Yes, I'm
right.
actually playing again as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What can we expect at the party? Is it?
I have no idea what I'm going to do yet. But it won't be soft jazz, romantic country music.
Probably not.
No.
Yeah.
No, not this time.
The anticipation's killing us. The party is here at Roland, and it's part of the product launch, but it's drum centric.
Yes.
So
It's totally
everybody's
drums.
Looking forward. That's what it's called, totally drums. We're looking forward to.
This is also very peculiar about the drumming community. If you look at international music festivals, but especially instrument festivals, drum festivals are still happening and very popular. Guitar festivals don't happen a lot. Keyboard festivals, there's barely any keyboard festivals.
This is amazing news.
It's drum festivals.
Yeah.
And it was going down for a couple of years, but it's picking up again. There's so many international drum festivals kicking off again, and people actually going to those festivals to see all these drummers live, and it's an amazing thing that it's still existing. It's something that started in the 80s, and now we're 2018, and it's picking up again. It's an amazing thing.
You know what? Been a drummer all my life, never been to a drum festival. What? Tell me
Well,
how
tonight
it goes.
you'll be at the drum
It'll
festival.
be a little piece of one tonight.
Yeah. Different drummers doing their thing, celebrating the fact that you can groove and make people move.
Yeah. And in the electronic environment here at Roland.
Yes.
The setup that you're playing tonight, is it any different than the one that we saw this
No,
morning?
I'm going to open up the show
Okay.
with a TD-17 like you can buy it at the dealer.
Just like, right, you can buy, this is how we get you, right? Hey, you can buy it just like this, right from the dealer.
Exactly.
Go ahead and do it. You sound just like
Yeah.
Michael. And then Mike gets up, he blows everybody away, and they go home going, yeah, I'm going to buy me a set of those because I can sound like that in my apartment.
Exactly.
You can try.
Yeah.
There are a lot of features. I was really, I won't say shocked. I shouldn't be shocked. I was really pleasantly surprised at how many of the features built into the kits have to do with allowing people to become better drummers.
Exactly. There's plenty of things that allow people to become very good drummers today.
Yeah.
One of those things is YouTube.
Yeah.
You can actually watch all those drummers, your favorite idols, the new upcoming cats. You can watch them without buying the DVDs or losing the VHS cassettes.
Yeah.
Like when I was watching those drummers. Then you have Spotify, Apple Music, and so many other media where you can actually not only find good music, but even play along tracks.
Right.
So everything is there to start practicing, but there's one thing you need for sure. It's a good drum set.
That's right.
And this is the one.
This is the one.
That
Well,
is
we're
actually
here to promote Roland and the launch, but the reality is that Roland has given a place for the drumming community to really grow and nurture
Yes, but there's also another thing. If you look at practical life today, how many of you have an iPhone?
practically everybody in the room.
Yeah, exactly. But what is disappearing on an iPhone? or any other phone, it's the mini jack out for your headphone.
Yeah, what's
It's
going
not-
on there?
So it's logical that there's a Bluetooth audio connection on the TD17, because in a few years you won't be able
won't
to
have a
connect
jack
with a
anymore.
mini jack. You know,
Right.
this is very necessary. It's
Yeah.
not an invention; it's a necessity. If you have the ambition to come out with a V-drum set, which will enable young people to play along to the music they like, this is a necessity.
Bluetooth connectivity.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
forward-looking.
Forward-looking, but also not only thinking about today, but also about tomorrow. So that sample import function makes it also a timeless module, because tomorrow maybe the Foo Fighters won't be the big number one rock band. It will be maybe Celine Dion doing a metal album. You never know. So you might as well be able to import
I
those
think there's
drum
some
sounds.
things we do know.
No.
I'm just kidding.
She's recording a metal album.
Is she really?
Yeah, but she doesn't know it yet. But
Oh,
it's
okay.
gonna happen.
All right.
So, but this is why this needs to be open source.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it needs to enable drummers. You know, if you're gonna invest in a music environment at your home, in a bedroom or whatever, what do you need? You need an instrument.
Yeah.
But if at least make it last long, make it an instrument that you can use for years and years. So there's no other way than going this way and making, at the same time, plug and play, but also at the same time,
You don't need
ready
a
for
plug.
the future.
Ready for the
Yeah,
future. Yeah.
exactly.
Just play.
Yeah.
That's great, man. So in the development role that you've played in the V-drum world, what are some of the things that you helped usher in that we probably take for granted now?
First of all, sound.
Yeah.
Also helping the Japanese engineers, which became also good friends, by inviting them to come to Europe or to the States, for instance, go to festivals where you actually see bands on the stage.
And understand the community that you
Understand what kind of sounds that make the people move. I
Right.
come from a country, I live 10 kilometers from Tomorrowland. It's a big dance festival. It's not a coincidence that so many international DJs and international music fans come there, because you find on that main stage is a representation of every single popular electronic music producer who's scoring hits today.
Wow.
So there's no other way that you go to these events and listen and see the people move on this particular kick sound or clap sound or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
At the same time, you need to go to rock festivals, because there's still a lot of people and young drummers and young people that just want to sound like Lars Ulrich
Yeah.
of Metallica. So there's so much music and so many extremes going on. So there's no other way than to team up with all of you together, making big lists of sounds that should be in the module, and then start experimenting, putting things together. It's an ongoing process, and that is where my role is mainly set, helping those sounds to become actually the sounds of today, but also helping to make them playable.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of beta testing involved. I'm a hard hitter. Jordan is more like a jazzy hitter.
Yeah.
So those two extremes need to be, we need to test
They need
those
to be
paths.
represented, yeah.
Exactly.
Well, the importance of that role cannot be understated, because you're helping to allow the developers not just to understand the user experience, but the experience of the folks who we serve as players, which is the audience. Who's moving to what, and what's driving the party.
Yes, and driving the party is also inspiration.
Yep.
If people go to concerts or watch some young guy or girl get a lot of views on YouTube, they want a copy. They want to be like that, immediately. But how are they going to do it? Are they going to do it with cameras and so on? No, it starts with the instrument.
Yep.
It starts with practicing and getting an idea, being original, and then putting it online. But that's a big step already. Putting it online is a big step, but all the steps before that are the ones that we take care of.
Right.
So,
Well, you know what the crew did for me today that just blew my mind was they plugged everything into the iPhone. And when I looked at the footage that we got on the iPhone earlier with Jordan playing, it was it sounded spectacular. It came straight from the kit right into my phone, so I could use that to post on YouTube with the purest sound. It sounded exactly like it was intended.
Yeah.
And that's mind-boggling because it takes away all of the, acoustic variables.
Exactly.
The challenge in recording a drum set is gone. You go right to your iPhone and you get the pure signal, just as you intended it.
But the challenge of playing is not gone.
The challenge of playing, that leaves the challenge of playing wide open. Right? So you can't hide now because you have the pure signal.
We have 110 volts electricity.
Uh-huh.
We have the latest chip technology,
Right.
the latest sound chip,
Yep.
the latest sound development, the latest pad technology, but we are still playing with wooden sticks.
Still playing with wooden sticks.
And they're wireless.
Yep. And if your meter is crappy, you still sound like shit.
Exactly. So the human factor is still the determining factor to make these instruments sound like music? Yes or no?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that is what has kept Roland on the forefront, really, of anything, because as music gets more and more electronic, the thing that we still feel is the human element, right? And Roland across the entire musical instrument landscape has had a focus on that. One last thing I want to ask you is the reluctant drummer out there who plays skins still. What do you say to the reluctant drummer about integrating electronics into their
He's
kit?
a friend.
Yeah.
Even the most, I get ranted online so many times, and it's mostly rants like, you shouldn't move your head like this, you're a whiplash drummer, whatever. Or another guy saying, hey man, electronics sound like shit or whatever. No, it's, I like that sound. And music is a very personal, very subjective thing. But what I would like to tell these people is that, you know what, it's all good. Music cannot be bad. There's not bad music or good music. There's music which is probably good music. And there's music you don't know, which you think is bad music. And there's a lot of different music styles in the middle that you still don't know. So what I would like to tell them is like, you know what? There's no law against acoustic drums, but there is also no law against playing electronic drums. And I'm still playing the same paradiddle sticking as you are.
Yep.
So what is the problem?
What is the problem? Well, hey, man, I just want to say we're going to close up here, but I just want to say thank you. You're a great hero to advancing the art form, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for the appreciation.
Michael Schack, everybody.
We're now shaking hands.
Yeah.
So everybody in the podcast can understand that we
That's
actually
right.
shook hands.